All right, Shalom. This is Harawan by Yasha Allah of the Lions Den Camp. I want to say Kal Halayim, La Yahweh, Ba Hashem Yahushai, Ba Hashem Harakah Kodash, Ma'amah. Double honor to the elder apostles of GMS and their elders. Shalom to you, Akim, and Akwatim and children that believe in sincerity and truth around the four corners of the earth. Man, this lesson here is going to be an expose on Esau, who we know as the Khazars. All right, I stumbled across this video, and this guy here, who's an Edomite himself, is telling the truth about his own people. Truth that we already know, but it's sometimes it's sweeter hearing it from their own mouth, man. Hearing it from the horse's mouth, it gets more undeniable, right? So I'm gonna play this clip and probably move in the spirit just to see where I can interject and bring in some scriptures, all right? But just check this out.
And if I go to sensitive history, well, then...
The title of the video is, on the sermons room, it's called Shocking. These are not Jews, but they are Khazars. That's what it says, Khazars. All right, let's check it out.
I must quote sources that say it rather than that I say it. This is a fascinating book, and the web pages are there. You can check it out. Facts are facts. This is a book that was written by a Jewish man. And he confronted the thinking of...
Written by a Jewish man, all right? Jewish, which means pertaining to, meaning they're not the original Israelites, but they're Jewish, pertaining to. They converted to what's it called, Judaism. And Judaism has nothing to do with being an Israelite. Judaism has nothing to do with being a Judean or a Judahite. Somebody from that land of Judah, like Yahushua. He was known as Yahushua of Nazareth because he was from that place. These Jews, per se, they're not from Israel. They were planted in that land by the Catholic Church and the Europeans, the Edomites, and created into being a nation during the time of right before Hitler. All right. So he's gonna go into it. He's reading from this book called Facts or Facts, written by a Jewish Edomite. All right. So he's talking about the Khazars. Let's get it.
Are facts. This is a book that was written by a Jewish man. And he confronted the thinking of many of the high-placed individuals of the world. This is interesting stuff. In this book, Benjamin H. Friedman, a Jewish man, writes about the Jews and reveals an interesting history. He states that the present Jews in Palestine are not the true descendants of the Judeans, but rather descendants of the Khazars.
The Khazars.
In the letter addressed to D. David Goldstein of Boston, Massachusetts, a convert to Catholicism, the author, Benjamin Friedman of New York City, dated October 1954, provides some fascinating insights. This is in the public domain. Let's study this for a while and see where we get. Benjamin H. Friedman claims that the word Jew was only introduced into the English language in the 18th century, and that Jesus referred to himself as a Judean and not as a Jew. Inscribed upon the cross when Jesus was crucified were the Latin words Iesus Nazarenus Rex ED0MITES, which means Jesus of Nazareth, ruler of the Judeans.
Had nothing to do with Jews. See, that term Jew was started around the 1800s, and that's when they really started moving from the Khazarian Empire into our land. All right. The conversion happened when they converted to Judaism, which goes back to Phariseeism. That happened around the 620 AD. Once you do the research, all the way up until the 18th century, and then in the 19th century, that's when you start getting the establishment of that place, of those Edomites in our land with Hitler, 1948. All right, so
I went and checked it, and it is so. Yes, it happens to be so. Now, the word Jew today has a religious as well as a political connotation. You think of a Jewish entity, a government, but you also think of their religion incorporated at the same time, whereas the term Judean is a geographic connotation.
right, a Judean represents those people that came from that land, Judah. That's just one of the tribes. That's why we always ask Esau, if they're the real Jews, where are the rest of the tribes? Because that term Jew was made up by them, by Esau. In the 1800s, it doesn't even exist. All right. So to be a Judean means you're from that place, from that land. To be an Israelite means you descend from Israel, whose name was changed from Jacob. But to be a Jew means you converted to a religion and called it Judaism. It has nothing to do with the Bible, has nothing to do with the Torah, the Tanakh. Has nothing to do with the people that are from that place. See, we are Judeans, those of Judah. People from Benjamin are Benjamites, just like Paul. All right. So to be a convert, let me get that word real quick. To convert means to what? Look at this etymology. It says to convert means to turn about. All right. A person whose faith has been changed from one religion to another. Basically, to turn about. All right, to return. How can Esau return to something that was never theirs? You know? It was never given to him. The blessing was never given to Esau. It was given to Jacob from Isaac. So how can Esau return to a blessing and to a land that was never theirs, to a promise that was never theirs, to a God that never took them in as his son? Let's get that real quick. All right. This is, I'm gonna get Malachi real fast. Malachi, I think it's right here. Malachi 1:1. The burden of the word of Yahweh to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you. See, the Lord said he loved Israel. Right? Let's get that. It says, this is Revelations 3:19. As many as I love, I rebuke and chasten. Be zealous, therefore, and repent. So who did the Lord love? The Lord said he loved Jacob. He said that we can repent and turn. The word repent means to turn back. All right. There you go. Hebrews 12 and 6. says, for whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and he scourgeth every son whom he receiveth, man. So the Lord scourged us. He put us in slavery, and he chastened us, okay? So the Lord has chastened us and prepared us as his children. It says, if ye endure chastening, Yahweh dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, talking about these heathens, then are ye bastards. So the Lord said Esau is a bastard, fatherless, like a wild animal on the earth. He said, then are ye bastards and not sons, man. All right? So the Father, Yahweh, is our Father, man. He's our Father. He's dealing with Israel. He's not dealing with Esau. He said Esau's an enemy, a heathen. And he's a bastard, not a son. So how can they return, meaning convert, back to something that was never given to them? That's the point right here. Malachi 1 and 2. I have loved you, saith Yahweh. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? So the Lord said he loved us by chastening us. People like, a lot of Jake think that's not love. Was not Esau Jacob's brother? Saith Yahweh, yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. All right, so it says what? Wherein Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. So they want to rebuild the land of Edom. All right, because the Lord ran them out of that place. Petra and all that. The Lord ran them out of there by the Nabateans. Around the 6th century BCE. That goes with Obadiah. It said they had brought them even out to the borders. All right? So, and they ran to the borders of Israel. All right? So it says here, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, the people against whom Yahweh have indignation forever. So how can the Lord take them back into something that he said he's going to have indignation against Esau forever? So how can they return? How can they convert? It's all blasphemy. That's all it is. They're just blaspheming, lying, saying they're the children of Israel, when actually taking on something called Judaism, which Judaism is completely against the Bible, is completely against the Messiah, and it's completely against the laws of Yahweh. It may have certain holy days in there, like Hanukkah and such, and the Passover, but they still do it wrong. See, what they believe in is, like this guy explains, Phariseeism. And the Pharisees, a lot of the wicked Pharisees were overdoing it with the law. They were going off. And they didn't really take to the idea about Yahushua. All right? So, and they were more of a political setup, a government. And that's what Esau takes on. And also mingling in their paganism. All right, so let's hear a little bit more, because it's a complex topic, man. It's a lot to bring together. But the focus is the Khazarian kingdom, the Khazars, man. A bunch of European Edomites that moved into that land as well, over there in parts of Turkey. All right.
It's a geographic. It doesn't incorporate the religion. It's where he came from. He was from Judah. He was a Judean.
Right, talking about Yahushua.
He further writes, the form of religious worship known as Pharisaism in Judea in the time of Jesus was a religious practice based exclusively upon the Talmud.
You gotta pause it. It's a religious practice based exclusively upon the Talmud. And the Talmud, you know, is called the Babylonian Talmud. And the Talmud is not a righteous book. It's wicked, witchcraft. All right, so that's what the Lord said. Look at that. This is Ecclesiastes 12:12. And further, by these, my son, be admonished. Of making many books there is no end, and much study is the weariness of the flesh. All right. Let's get that. Isaiah 34:16. So they're making of many books. Isaiah 34:16. But what did the Lord say? Seek ye out of the book of Yahweh and read. No, all right? So we're supposed to read from the Lord's book that he put together. Not from man, what man put together from their own carnal mind. But the Lord called certain men together and had them write the book. It says, no one of these shall fail, right? No one of the Lord's words are going to fail. But that Talmud is going to fail, the Quran, the Keber Negas, the Book of the Dead, all these books are going to fail. None shall want her mate. For my mouth it have commanded, and his spirit it have gathered them, right? So the Lord, through his spirit, have gathered the men to write the book, and now the Lord, through the words of this book, have gathered the men again, you know, through the spirit. So look at this real quick. Psalm 68:11. Yahweh gave the word, see, and great was the company of those that published it and made it public and wrote it. All right. That's right. Great was the company that published it. But it was the Spirit of the Lord that called these men to write the words of the book. Isaiah 30:8. Now go and write it before them in a table and note it in a book, that it may be for the time to come forever and ever. All right. So they got to be from dealing with the Lord vibration, his spirit of truth. That's why he say, seeketh those to worship him in spirit and in truth, man. And these devils, they deal with something called the Talmud, which is a whole nother book. That's why you got people like Sean Poe, the one that used to be with P. Diddy and them. You got idiots like, what's that? I forgot his name. He ain't played. It's Mari Stoudemire going over there, you know, with the fake Jews, wearing that big ass black hat, which goes back to Saturn worship, growing their damn sideburns out like a billy goat, banging their head towards the wall that Herod built to pay homage to the damn Caesar at that time, Augustus. So that wall was built by Herod, but they call it the Wailing Wall. All right, so it's all witchcraft. The Talmud.
The Talmud in the time of Jesus was the Magna Carta, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, all rolled into one, of those who practiced Pharisaism. The Talmud today occupies the same relative position with respect to those who profess Judaism.
Right. So the Talmud today occupies the same relative position with respect to those who profess Judaism. So if they believe in Judaism, Then they're following after Pharisaism, which deals with the Talmud, which deals with the left-hand side, with witchcraft. Has nothing to do with the prophecy, the spirit of truth, the Messiah, nothing. So they want people to feel sorry for them. That's why I said, what those people are going after Kanye and Kyrie Irving about is saying, hey, we're the Jews, and you're not feeling sorry for what we went through. Meaning, they're not saying that they're the Israelites. They're saying that what they did, what they went through with Hitler, people should feel sorry for that, period. I mean, it's like a gang saying you got the Bloods and the Crips. Say, hey, we were the Crips, and we went through this. Not saying they are the Israelites. It's just they'll admit it. They'll say, yeah, we're not the real Israelites, but we did go through that, and y'all should feel sorry for it. It's like, no. Who's gonna feel sorry for slavery? What happened to our people and millions of the children of Israel, God's chosen people, the Gadites, the northern kingdom, southern kingdom. Let's see.
So the rituals and rites that many of them observed were based on the Talmud and not on the Torah.
Based on the Talmud and
Rabbi Morris, this is all from the source. Rabbi Morris in Khazars wrote a most revealing and comprehensive article with the title, What is a Jew?, which was published as a feature article in Look magazine in June 17, 1952 issue. In that article, Rabbi Morris Khazars evaluated the significance of the Talmud to Judaism today. In that illuminating treatise and that important subject, by the most qualified authority at the time, Rabbi Morris N. Khazars stated, the Talmud consists of 63 books of legal, ethical, and historical writings of the ancient rabbis. It was edited 5 centuries after the birth of Jesus. It is a compendium of law and lore. It is the legal code which forms the basis of the Jewish religious law, and it is, note, the textbook used in the training of rabbis.
Boom. So that's what they use.
So rabbis are trained according to the Talmud.
So all their rabbis, all of them, even in Russia, or the Orthodox Church, whatever they call themselves, all these Jews, ED0MITES, Jews, even over in Russia, Europe, different places, they're all trained under the Talmud. All right? And they call themselves rabbis. But the Lord said what? Matthew 23. And let's get to the point. 8, verse 8. But be not ye called rabbis, for one is your master, even Yahushua, and all ye are brethren. All right, so that's Yahweh is our master, and Yahushua is our master, our given master. Because the word rabbi just means master. So the Lord said we're not supposed to call none of them our masters. All right. He said you can be a master, meaning mastering your art, mastering in its truth, the skill of it, but don't be called a master, like like lording over somebody. So these rabbis of these synagogues, they train under the Talmud, not under the Torah.
And the Talmud has very little in common with the Bible.
Say that again.
Into the Talmud. And is, note, the textbook used in the training of rabbis. So rabbis are trained according to the Talmud. And the Talmud has very little in common with the Bible. Then he states, From the birth of Jesus.
Talmud has nothing to do, very little in common with the Bible. They stole some things from the Bible just like the Quran did. All right.
Until this day, there have never been recorded more vicious and vile, libelous blasphemies of Jesus or Christians and the Christian faith by anyone, anywhere, or any time than you will find between the covers of the infamous 63 books, which are the legal code which forms the basis of the Jewish religious law as well as the textbook used in the training of rabbis.
In the next 45 seconds, I'm going to show you how we earn a
All right, so yeah, man, it says no more blasphemous book than that of the Talmud, man. That blasphemes the Bible. Let's get that. And blaspheme, he said the Lord's people. Revelations 2:9. I know thy works and tribulation. So the Lord said he knows our works and our tribulation that we're going through. And our poverty. But thou art rich, right? He's saying that the Israelites are the real rich ones. We're really God's chosen people. All right? And I know this goes with Malachi. Jacob with Esau. The Lord said, I love Jews, said the Lord loved Jacob, but he hate Esau. And laid his mountains and his heritage waste. So he said, we really the ones that are rich. We get the spirit of truth, the spirit of wisdom. He said, and I know the blasphemy, see, the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. That's what they are. They're the synagogue of Satan. And the word Satan just means adversary. You know, that's why you see them killing black goats and shit on the Passover. Like weird stuff, man. All right, so the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not. It's talking about Esau today. All right, that scripture, Revelation 2:9, was originally against Jake that was doing what? Phariseeism. The Sadducees, the Pharisees that was selling out to the government, to the Roman Empire. You know, a lot of the Sadducees, they were bringing in that science, and they didn't believe in the reincarnation. They didn't believe in the spirit of the Lord, or that the Messiah was showing up. A lot of the wicked scribes and Pharisees, or Sadducees. So Esau has converted to that. They didn't convert to the truth. They can't come, even if they wanted to. They couldn't. Because they wouldn't be able to get the whole truth, man. The Lord wouldn't give it to them. All right? So, it's not for them. And even if they did creep in unawares, then they won't make it on the day of salvation. When the Lord does the sifting, all right, through his angels. But yeah, man, the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. And they damn sure got some synagogues, don't they? All right, let's get more into it.
I want to go into it. If I were to put the quotes on the screen, which the Talmud contains about Jesus, you would be horrified. It is some of the vilest statements that I have ever had the dishonor of reading. And this is what their training consists of. He then proceeds to quote some of the most horrendous statements from the Talmud regarding ethical issues, and not only regarding ethical issues, which deal with many, many issues from economics to relations with women. And many, many of the Jews that today live in the reconstituted state of Israel come from Eastern Europe, are not descendants of the Judeans or the lost tribes of Israel, live in Jews in Palestine. He states economics to relations with women, etc. and, of course, the view on Christ. As to the origin of the present Jews in Palestine, he states that those Jews derived from Eastern Europe, and many of the Jews that today live in the reconstituted state of Israel come from Eastern Europe, are not descendants of the Judeans or the lost tribes of Israel, but rather descendants of the Khazars. Who were they? They were a nation most people do not even know of. He writes.
Now, with that being said, what does that make you? If you're an Israelite, and we see that this is true, what does that make you? When you wake up, when you go to sleep at night, when you're going out to teach, when you're serving the Lord, when you're praying, you're an Israelite, man. You know? If any were ever in denial, you shouldn't be. Them fake Jews over there, they're descendants of Khazars. That's what the Lord said, the truth shall set you free. You know, not the chains as of yet, but the truth, knowing who you are. The ass his master's crib, you know. The ox knoweth his owner. And now we know our owner and we know where we're from. So yeah, man, they're descendants of the Khazars. Now I think he may show a map, but I want to go to it first real quick. Let's look at this one right here. There you go. This is a good example of it. Now this was the Khazarian kingdom in the early 10th century, and that's around the time of their expulsion into the land of Israel. All right, from the 10th century all the way up until the 18th century. All right, they were being made into a nation, an actual nation of people. All right, the conversion happened with the Khazars into Judaism around 620 AD, all the way up to the 10th century, right? And by that time, we were ruling in the 6th century, the Byzantine Empire right here. See that? And you still had the western leg of the Roman Empire. But you had them Edomites that came and took this land back around the 12th century. You're going up to the 1400s, that's when you get Cesare Borgia and them establishing the letter J, creating that name, you know, Jesus and all that. So a lot happened around this time, man, that they want to try to erase. But the Khazars, they were a group of nomadic people, Edomites, that had a different belief than these Edomites. All right? They wanted to follow after, it was a story, let me get it. All right, I'm gonna read this real quick. It says, there was a guy named, it said the conversion of these Khazars, this is an article, man, old article. The conversion of those Edomites, basically, into Judaism, it took place around in 620 AD. According to others, it took place in 740. King Joseph, in his letter to Hasdai Shaprut about 960, almost around that 10th century, right? He gives the following account of the conversion. Wow. So he broke it down, what happened. Some centuries ago, King Bulan reigned over the Khazars. It was an Edomite named King Bulan. To him, he said he had a dream where God appeared to him. All right, let's see. Well, check this out. Just like Alexander said, to him, he believed that God appeared in a dream and promised him might and glory. All right, and that's what the Lord gave to Esau. All right, to give him the world. He said, encouraged by this dream, Bulan went by the road of Darien to the country of Ardabil, where he gained great victory over the Arabs. The Byzantine emperor and the caliph of the Ishmaelites. All right, that's around, because around the 5th century, that's when that Islam really started kicking off with Muhammad and all that shit. All right. To him, envoys with presents. See, the Ishmaelites, they sent to him, to this guy, King Joseph, or King Bulan, of the Khazars. They sent to him envoys with presents and sages. Sages was like wise men, to convert him to their respective religions. Bulan invited also wise men of Israel and proceeded to examine them all. And these was real jakes that was in Israel at that time as well, still some lingering around. As each of the champions believed his religion to be the best, Bulan separately questioned the Mohammedans, which was today called Islam, Muslims. They believed in Muhammad. They followed after Muhammad. And the Christians, all right, the ones that was following after Christendom, which is something totally different from being a Hebrew, Israelite. All right, that was the world of Christendom, which was already affected by the Council of Nicaea and all of that around 325. So they even crept their paganism up into that. It says, the Christians, as to which of the other two religions they considered the better, when both gave preference to that of the Jews, that king perceived that it must be the true religion. He therefore adopted it. And he, so it says Khazars. So he adopted it, man. This account of the conversion was considered to be of a legendary nature. I ain't gonna say that name. Sheesh. He proved from Arabic and Slavonian sources that the religious disputation of the Khazarian court is a historical fact. Look at that, man. So it's a historical fact that they converted. All right, I'm gonna keep reading. Even the name of Sangari has been found in the liturgy of Constantine the philosopher. It was one of the successors of Bulan, named Obadiah, who regenerated the kingdom and strengthened the Jewish religion. He invited Jewish scholars to settle in his dominions and founded synagogues and schools. The people were instructed in the Bible, Mishnah, and the Talmud. And they chose the Talmud, of course, so they mixed it all together. And in the divine service of the Hazanim. In their writings, the Khazars used the Hebrew succession letters. Obadiah was succeeded by his son Hezekiah, the latter, or it's talking about a bunch of jakes that was helping him out. All right, so yeah, man, that conversion happened around the 6th century. All right, so not all of them converted. A lot of them stuck with that Mohammedism. A lot of them. Let me read this. It says, the king and the Khazars proper were Jews. See, they took on the Jews, Judaism. But the army consisted of Mohammedans. So the army had a lot of Muslims. while the other inhabitants, especially the Slavonians, like Slavic from the Russia, and the Russians were heathens. See that? They stuck to their atheistic beliefs. So a lot of those Russian Edomites, they stuck to their beliefs, and some of them took on what you call Judaism today, which is nothing but witchcraft. And a lot of the army of the Khazarian kingdom, they took on Islam and Christianity. And a bulk of them took on Judaism. Now later on, I think around the 18th century, they took a lot of those fake Jews and they exiled or ran them into our land. And once they were in our land, they put them in something called ghettos to give them this whole impoverished look, and made them wear yellow tags on their shirt. I used to think it was us, but it was really those Edomites. When they put us in ghettos, and they made them wear yellow tags on their shirt to separate them from the other Edomites. You see that? And they put them into that land. That's our land today. So let's go back to this. This is where they really from. Now these Khazars, they moved here from Edom. They were Edomites. They moved here, from Eastern Europe.
In Eastern Europe in modern history cannot legitimately point to a single ancient ancestor who ever set even a foot on the soil of Palestine in the era of Bible history. Research also revealed that the so-called or self-styled Jews in Eastern Europe were never Semites, are not Semites now, nor can they ever be regarded as Semites.
Well, that's what he's messing up at, because those fake Jews today, they're really Edomites from Shem. So they're Shemitic, but they're Shemitic Edomites. So he went off right there.
Any future time by any stretch of the imagination. What secret, mysterious power has been able for countless generations to keep the origin and the history of the Khazars and the Khazar kingdom out of the history textbooks? Did you ever learn about it at school?
Nope. They didn't teach this in school. This is Jeremiah 16:19. O Yahweh, my strength, and my fortress, and my refuge, in the day of affliction, the Gentiles shall come unto thee, meaning the nations, these heathens, they shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies. Vanity. It's vanity. Everything they pushing and doing is all vanity in their beliefs. And things wherein there is no profit. See? It didn't profit them. And their fathers have inherited those lies, man. All right? That's right. Let me get that real quick. Obadiah 1:6. It says, how are the things of Esau searched out, and how are his hidden things sought up, man? So all his hidden, everything he tried to hide is being sought up by the Spirit of the Lord. The Lord said he's going to search them out. All right, so it's the Spirit of the Lord that's searching them out and revealing them. The Lord said what? The mystery of iniquity is being revealed in these times. Then the end shall come. All right, 2 Ezra 16 and 62. Yea, the Spirit of the Almighty power, Yahweh, which made all things, and searcheth out all hidden things in the secrets of the earth. Surely he knoweth your inventions, and what ye think in your hearts, even them that sin and would hide their sin. All right? Therefore hath the Lord Yahweh exactly searched out all your works, and he will put you all to shame. All right, so deep, man. So the mystery of iniquity is being revealed. All right, this is 2 Thessalonians 2 and 7. For the mystery of iniquity doeth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. So the Lord is going to take Esau. The Lord, the one that put him in our way, he's going to take Esau out of the way. And the mystery of wickedness. It's a mystery. During the Roman Empire, they didn't really know that they were the Edomites. But the Lord says it's going to be revealed in that day. And now they're being revealed. That they're the Edomites that the scriptures speak of. The thief, the imposter, the vagabond. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. So he's being consumed with the spirit of truth. And shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. So when the Lord shows up, he's going to destroy these devils. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders. See that? So they believed those same lies that were passed down since the Roman Empire and beyond. They were already working their lies, working their magic, their witchcraft. And the Lord said in the end, their descendants are going to say, surely they have inherited those lies, those lying wonders. Verse 10, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness, man, in them that perish, man. So they're pushing all, Esau is the most wicked on this earth, using every form of witchcraft and lying wonders and deceivableness. And it deceived 2/3 of our people because they received not the love of the truth that they might be saved. All right, so deep, man. So there's Esau right there. Stole our land, stole our name. All right.
I never learnt about it. And out of classroom courses in history throughout the world, the origin and the history of Khazars and the Khazar kingdom are certainly incontestable historical facts. You have to do some cross-checking.
That's right.
Even the Jewish encyclopedia is quite explicit about it.
Ooh, This is from the Jewish encyclopedia. I might screenshot this one. See, people like vocab need to do some research. You got to do some cross-referencing. All right, because it's written in the scriptures, man, that Esau is going to be ruling when the Lord shows up. 2 Ezra 6 and 7. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? The end of Esau's rulership and wickedness, and when is going to be the beginning of righteousness on this earth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, that's when the promise really started. It was given to Isaac. And when Jacob and Esau were born of him, that's when the promise was given to Jacob. All right. When Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. That means there's not going to be any separation from the time of Esau's going down at the feet, at the end of their system. Within that, Jacob's going to be getting risen up. And we're getting risen up now through the spirit of truth. The tabernacle of David is being risen up, rebuilt. The temple of Yahweh is being rebuilt spiritually while Esau is falling. All right, and that goes with Ezekiel 38 as well. In Daniel chapter 7. It says what? For Esau is the end of the world. So they're going to be ruling in the last days. And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. All right. So the real Jacob, they didn't say Jews, Jacob, Israel, those people are going to rule on this earth someday.
Khazar kingdom. Here is the Black Sea, the Byzantine Empire. Here was Persia, and here was the kingdom of the Khazars. It was a massive kingdom. Now let's look at some of this interesting history. The Khazars were an Asiatic nation.
Mind you, this is in the Jewish Encyclopedia.
And the Jewish Encyclopedia states Persian origin that converted to Talmudic Judaism.
If you have bursitis.
The rabbis involved there could have been Judeans and probably were Judean descendants, but their converts are not Judeans.
Right. He's saying there was probably some people in that land that were Israelites, but the converts were Edomites. And just like during the time of John Hyrcanus, I think John Hyrcanus, which is spoken of in Daniel chapter 9, John Hyrcanus, he converted those, was it Antipater the Idumean? He converted Edom when they came into our land during the wars, during the time of John Hyrcanus, I think around 134 BC, around that time, right? Because it was the Hasmonean. He was one of the last of the Hasmonean dynasty. So around 134 BC, John Hyrcanus dominated the Idumeans, and he converted them to our beliefs. And that's when you get idiots like Antipater the Edomite, who was the father of Herod the Great in wickedness around the 1st century BC. And then you get Herod and Agrippa believing that they can be Israelites through their belief. And it was not true. All right? They were Edomites. And they thought to go back and rebuild those desolate places, like Herod said. Herod went and looked at the land of Edom, and he said he wanted to rebuild it. So he started chasing after power in the Roman Empire. And they gave it to him. And they let him rule over Israel. All right? But they thought they were Israelites as well, but the Lord said he'll never accept them, man. So let's keep going.
And that had conquered a vast area of Eastern Europe, which was in turn later conquered by the Russians in the 10th and 13th century. So that is why there are so many Russian Jews. Have you ever thought where they came from?
Right.
Did they escape from Palestine? Were they the lost 10 tribes? Did they emigrate to Russia? No. This is a totally different nation that accepted Talmudic Judaism.
They're all Edomites.
He writes, after a historic session with representatives of the three monotheistic religions, King Bulan, 7th century.
That's what I was just reading y'all about. I was just reading y'all about King Bulan, all right, in that article I just read. All right. But I just want to see something with this. There we go. It says Ashdod is a shipping port over in Jerusalem, okay? Now, this is Zechariah 9 and 6. It says, what? And a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod. The Lord called them fatherless. They are bastards, right? He didn't chastise them. He's not dealing with Esau. He said they are bastards and not sons. So the Lord said, what? And a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. So the Lord gave that land to the Edomites. They took over it, especially after our fall. All right.
Decided against Christian and Islam, because Islam had just arisen, and selected as the future state religion the religious worship then known as Talmudism, and not known and practiced as Judaism, which was totally different, which was based on the Bible.
Right. They called it Talmudism, and later on they changed the name to Judaism. Same thing. So it's like all vanity.
They adopted the Hebrew alphabet, and the Khazars adapted words to their requirements from the German, the Slavonic, and the Baltic languages. This language was known as Yiddish. And Yiddish used the Hebrew alphabetic characters, but not Hebrew. It's not Hebrew.
Listen.
It's Yiddish.
Yiddish.
I've always wondered, when I hear them speaking Yiddish, I understand quite a few words. Why? Because I'm German.
Yeah.
They had many exchanges with universities, and their students were trained.
He said that's why he feel like he can understand Yiddish, because it's mainly German. And you know, a lot of them Germans, most of the Germans are Temanites. And Teman is one of the chief houses of, or the wise men of Edom. Even Alexander, he was a Temanite, if you do the research on him. Alexander the Greeks, they were Temanites. Through his grandfather, man, they were Temanites, all right? So he said, yeah, they speak in Yiddish, and you can read about that in a book called Who is Esau Edom, where it breaks that down about the Yiddish language being Jewish. The word Yiddish just comes from the word Jewish, meaning pertaining to the language, but it's not the language of Hebrew. It's not the Lashawan Kodash. And the Lord said that. Let's get this real quick. The prologue of Sirach. All right, it's in the prologues. So, let me get this real quick and keep you. Here you go. It says here, for the same things uttered in Hebrew, right, the Ibar, the true language of Hebrew, Lashwan Kodash, the holy tongue, and translated into another tongue, into German or whatever, have not the same force in them. And not only these things, but the law itself and the prophets and the rest of the books have no small difference when they are spoken in their own language. See, everything comes together, gives the proper vibration when you pray or when you break down the words into the true Hebrew and the definition. All right? So when they call on the name Jesus and Yahweh, all these different names, they have no power in those names. The power is in the name of Yahweh and in the name of his son, Yahushua. Get this real quick. I just saw what I wanted to get. I get it in a second. Right, this is Luke 21:23. But woe to them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land and wrath upon the people, right? Especially in 70 AD. That's when this happened. The Lord was prophesying about 70 AD. And he said, woe to them that give suck in those days. Because we were going to be scattered throughout the western coast of Africa and different places. All right, we were ran out of that land by Esau, the abomination that maketh desolate, Titus and Vespasian. It says what? And they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive. See, we fell by the edge of the sword and we were led away captive into all nations, especially around the 1400s. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down. See, Jerusalem, our land, not only us, but our land was trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And what's that? That goes with 2nd Ezra chapter 6, when Esau is being revealed. And Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning that follows. So that's the time of the Gentiles. It's going to be fulfilled when Daniel chapter 7. You know, Daniel chapter 2. Time of the 10 toes. All these prophecies got to play out. And when their time is fulfilled, the Lord said what? This is Job 14:5. Seeing his days are determined, so the Lord has the days of Esau's rulership determined. He got it all laid out, a beginning and an end. The number of his months are with thee. See, the Lord kept that to himself, that moment when he's going to send Yahushua to destroy these devils. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass, man. So the Lord already ordered his steps that Esau will not be able to pass. That's the time when the Gentiles are going to be fulfilled, when their rulership is done. So our land is going to be trodden down of the Gentiles, of these nations, these heathens. So those are heathens in that land, trotting it down, walking all over that land in wickedness until the end of their rulership, when Jacob is going to be risen to power.
So here is another nation which had occupied this area, and they had adopted this religion and brought rabbis in and trained the people.
Wow, circus.
But they were not Judean.
Right, but they're not
Now let's
Judean.
jump to today.
They brought all the people in there and brought in the rabbis and all this madness, but they were still not Judeans. They're not from that land.
In accordance to this history, the religion of the modern state of Israel is based on Kabbalistic and Talmudic traditions and is far removed from the biblical worship of Yahweh.
The Lord's name is Yahweh.
And if it is based on the Talmud,
It's far removed from the worship of Yahweh. That Talmud does not worship the Most High Yahweh.
it is so anti-Jesus Christ
His name is Yahushua, so it's anti-Messiah.
that it belies understanding. And here we have, in March 2006, while visiting Yeshiva University at Brooklyn, New York, a Jewish institute dedicated to the study of the what? Talmud. We have Cardinal Casper. Who's Cardinal Casper? Cardinal Casper is the cardinal associated with ecumenism. They are honoring the Talmud together. You see, behind the scenes, there is a pact. Because I, as a Christian, can sympathize with every other religion, but I cannot embrace a religion that speaks evil of Jesus Christ.
Messiah Yahushua.
Nor can I, the stock exchange, as well as the National Department of Tax Boards. Do we have all of those systems of governments in the world today? Yes.
Right, so basically now he's speaking about Napoleon establishing all the stock market, today that America uses, the structure of the army and military that Esau uses. So that's what he got that from. And we see that being used today. All right, so I'm going to play this last part and I'm going to try to end it.
No. Yes, we do. And we have the same system of economics today, yes or no? Yes. The world is run by the stock exchange. To ensure equitable taxation for all, consequently, the income of the French peasants skyrocketed. Think tanks and research centers were established in France to work on projects vital for national economy. So a totally new economic order evolved. Who started these organizations? We will have to see. Who runs the secret societies today and the secret organizations? Who started them? Who is the instigator? Who's the boss behind the scenes? We will have to see.
Esau.
And maybe we'll get a different picture of what's happening in the world.
Right.
An industrial board was organized to provide data and information to French industry, as exemplified by the success of the sugar beet farming and the canning industry. Organization created by Napoleon for his grand army, and it has been used ever since.
Tired of being broke?
Who controls the war machines of the world? Who controls the gun running?
Right. So they stole these ideas from Napoleon, and they use those same tactics today.
These are important questions. And now it gets interesting. Napoleon disappears. He says, I want a Jewish state. I want to rebuild the Jewish temple. What is he planting in the minds?
There you go.
An idea.
Idea.
He starts the lodges.
Now he's going into how those fake Jews got into our land and got established as a people over there, all right?
The British lodges start taking over these lodges eventually. Of course, they're all integrated. And then Prussia, when Napoleon is gone, retracted the liberal laws in 1815 after the Battle of Waterloo. The worst setback upon the Jews of the Papal States.
See, they started oppressing their own people, Edomites, and had a war dealing with religions, and they put pressure on them fake Jews that believed in Judaism. All right, from the Catholic Church. Check this out.
It would almost seem as if Pius VII had taken revenge on the Jewish population of his territory for the humiliation he had suffered at the hand of Napoleon. He was not content with their confinement behind the walls of the re-erected ghetto, but he obliged the Jews to wear the yellow badge. The Jews had to walk with a badge, with an armband.
Not us.
Does that ring?
He's talking about them fake Jews. Now, this is all to create a character. Sympathy, you know? The Jewish state. They already had them behind walls and ghettos, you know, in Israel. Now they want them to wear yellow badges to separate them.
A bell somewhere? In Sardinia, the Jews were thrown back into ghettos and not allowed to build synagogues. Much later, some European nations assimilated the Jews between 1824 and 1867, Holland in 1830. These are Protestant nations. They don't understand what's going on.
Right.
They're trying to help the Jews. Sweden, 1830.
Right. See? These are all Edomite nations that were trying to help the Jews. Edomite Jews, you know, trying to help them be established.
For Switzerland, 1838. It is remarkable that in England it was only in 1858, after Lord Lionel Rothschild was elected 5 times, that he was permitted to take his seat in Parliament.
Damn, he was elected 5 times, this Edomite Rothschild. See, the 1800s where they really kicked off that sovereignty for that nation, for those Edomites.
It is also interesting to know that the laws that were passed in France in 1808 are still in existence even to this day. So there was liberty on the one hand, but oppression started to take over in Europe. And by the time we get to Adolf Hitler, did he introduce the same oppression, yes or no? Yes, he hounded them.
See, he's showing a fast track of how they liberated those people, put them in an oppressive state, and separated them from amongst their own people, the Edomites. And no longer called them Khazars, but called them Jews, following Judaism. Not saying that they're Israelites, but that they're Jews that follow Judaism.
He disenfranchised them. And the Russians, all of these nations, suddenly the world was in turmoil, in war, and the Jews were the hounded ones. And at the end of this war, where would those poor Jews go when they tried to escape the turmoil of Europe? Where did they go? They were herded like sheep to a new Jewish state in order to create a new philosophy which was to be swallowed hook, line, and sinker by a world with a totally new religious philosophy, no longer based on Protestantism, but now based on new Catholic counter-theology. Have you ever thought about it, that the British, who were the saviors of Europe, allowed ships to be filled with Jewish hopefuls who wanted to emigrate to the West, how they wouldn't let those ships pass by, and how eventually they were all herded towards Palestine, and the Jews had to settle in a land that had nothing? Well, it's interesting. You have to create a national identity. You have to create national heroes. And we dealt with that in previous lectures. I don't want to go.
Right, so they created it. Esau created it, man. But the Lord said that, man. You know? It says, there you go. Where's it at? This is Malachi 1:4. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom Yahweh have indignation forever. So they've built all over the world, especially in our land, you know. But the Lord said what? He's going to throw down. He's going to throw it all down. So they got moved into that area, took on our name, you know, and they were created into a people, into a sovereign state.
Into it. And eventually, where did they end up? They ended up the leaders of the nations, and a new nationality arose, and a new nationalistic, Zionistic pride arose, and a nation arose. I feel sorry for them.
All right, I'm going to read this precept. All right, so the Lord's going to have all these nations go to war, and that land of Israel is going to be destroyed. It's going to turn into a sea of glass, just like America. Joel 3:2. And I will also gather all nations, and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat. That's over there where they're gathering all their armies, and what's called the East, the Middle East. And will plead with them there for my people. He's going to judge them there for my people, for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. See, they parted our land, and they gave it out to their children. Ezekiel 35:1. Moreover, Yahweh, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against them. So it's a prophecy against them. And say unto it, Thus saith Yahweh the power, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee. All right, the nations of Edom, the Lord is against them. And I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. They're going to be most desolate of all the nations in Yahweh's kingdom. And I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Even now, even to this day, where our people are being called out of iniquity, Esau's still right there, butchering and killing and slaughtering our people. Therefore, as I live, saith Yahweh, I will prepare thee unto blood. See, the Lord prepared them, the wicked, for the day of judgment. And blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Since they love killing, the Lord gonna have them be destroyed. Thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it him that passeth out and him that returneth, man. So, you know, the ones that's in that land still, and the ones that have went all over the world seeking whom they may devour, scattering all over the world, the Lord gonna get them as well. And I will fill his mountains with his slain men, and in thy valley, in thy hills, and in thy valleys, and in thy rivers shall they fall that are slain with the sword. And it's gonna be the men of Israel that do the slaying in that day. They're gonna be hunted all over the earth. That's gonna be a fun, great, beautiful time for the elect of Israel. Trying to move fast through this. Yeah. And I will make thee perpetual desolations. Since they had a perpetual hatred, the Lord gonna give perpetual desolations to them. And thy cities shall not return. So they're gonna fall and not be rebuilt. They shall build, but the Lord gonna throw down. And once the Lord destroys them, they're never gonna stand up again. And ye shall know that I am Yahweh, because thou hast said, these two nations and these two countries shall be mine, the northern kingdom and southern kingdom. They said these two countries shall be theirs, and they took over it. And we will possess it, whereas Yahweh was there. See, they wanted to take our lands, and they did it. They established the weaker of their nations there. That's why the scriptures say the least among them shall draw them out. Israel. All these nations going to draw out the more powerful nation like Europe. Therefore, as I live, saith Yahweh, I will even do according to thine anger and according to thine envy, which thou hast used out of thy hatred against them. They envied us, man. They want to be us so bad, but they can't. And I will make myself known among them when I have judged thee. See, the Lord has made himself known amongst us as he's judging Edom, and we're witnessing it. But they have to be exposed first. They have to be revealed who they are, that they're the Khazars. And the Khazars were what? Edomites that moved in there to Turkey, in those areas, and from Russia, and from Thrace. These was all Temanites. These were all Edomites that later called themselves Khazars. I think the word Khazars means pigs or something like that. And then from there, they called themselves Judeans, following the word Jewish or Judaism. But they're not of Judea. They're not Judeans. They're not Judites. And they're not Israelites. All right. And thou shalt know that I am Yahweh, and that I have heard all thy blasphemy. So the Lord heard all their blasphemy. He heard the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, which thou hast spoken against the mountain of Israel. So you're speaking today against Kanye West and all them, that those fake Jews are speaking. That's all blasphemy. And have spoken against the mountains of Israel, saying they are laid desolate. They are given us to consume. See, that's what they believe. They believe that the Lord just gave us to them to consume us. But that goes into Romans 11 real quick. 11:1. It says, have Yahweh cast away his people? God forbid. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. Not a Jewish. He's from the tribe of Benjamin. He's a Benjamite, an Israelite. Yahweh have not cast away his people, which he foreknew. See that? So the Lord didn't cast us away. He just separated, scattered us so the remnant could be chosen. right, let me keep going with this. Finish it here. 13. Thus with your mouth, Isaiah 35:13. Thus with your mouth ye have boasted against me. That goes into Obadiah chapter 1. The pride of thine heart has deceived thee. Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, man. That's Esau. Right? And have multiplied your words against me. I have heard them. Thus saith Yahweh power. When the whole earth rejoiceth, I will make thee desolate. So in the kingdom of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, once the nations after 1,000 years, they get some form of living, Esau is going to be made the most desolate in that day. And thou didst rejoice, as thou didst rejoice at the inheritance of the house of Israel. When we fell, that was our inheritance. To be the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. So we were made last, so we could be made first later. As thou didst rejoice in the inheritance of the house of Israel, because it was desolate, so will I do unto thee. Thou shalt be desolate, O Mount Seir, and all Idumea, even all of it, and they shall know that I am Yahweh. So Lord gonna go after every single last one of them for the lies they committed against us, and they should be ashamed for what they did to the tribe of Jacob, the children of Israel. They touched the apple of the Lord's eye, and they looked upon our land and sought to take it. You know? So I'm gonna end it there so I don't run out of too much space on this phone. But yeah, man, they the Khazars. All right, so this is where they really come from. And prior to this, it was the land of Edom. All right, so with that, I'm gonna say shalom.